Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. I hope you had a busy and productive Monday, or at least maybe a restful Monday. Either way, it works pretty well. Hope you had a great weekend. And as usual, we're here for another night of Fresh, Natural, and Live. And I'm excited about our guest tonight. We are going to have a fantastic show tonight. Normally, we have experts on and we sit and do wonderful presentations or interviews. But tonight, we have a special treat. As you know, we're upon the holiday season. And this is the time of year that we tend to, start to eat all of our favorite foods. But sometimes our favorite foods, we like these foods, but the foods don't like us. And so what our goal is tonight is to bring you some delicious recipes for the holidays. And I have a wonderful guest on tonight, someone I've known for years. I don't know how long I've been working with Chef AJ. But Chef AJ is going to be in her kitchen in California, and she's going to be showing us some delightful dishes. She's actually going to be preparing the meals online. A little bit about Chef AJ. She has been devoted to a plant-exclusive diet for 43 years. She is the host of the television series Healthy Living with Chef AJ, which airs on Foodie TV. Chef AJ is a culinary instructor and professional speaker. She is author of a popular book, Unprocessed: How to Achieve Vibrant Health and Your Ideal Weight, which chronicles her journey from an obese junk food vegan faced with a diagnosis of precancerous polyps to learning how to create foods that nourish and heal the body. Her latest best-selling books, The Secrets of Ultimate Weight Loss, A Revolutionary Approach to Conquer Cravings, Overcome Food Addiction, and Lose Weight Without Going Hungry, and Own Your Own Health, have received glowing endorsements by many luminaries in the plant-based movement. Chef AJ was an executive pastry chef at Sante Restaurant in Los Angeles, where she was famous for her sugar, oil, and gluten-free desserts, which use the fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit. She broadcasts Chef AJ Live on YouTube and Facebook daily. She is the creator of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, which has helped hundreds of people achieve the health and body that they deserve, and is proud to say that her IQ is higher than her cholesterol. In 2018, she was inducted to the Vegetarian Hall of Fame. So without further ado, I bring to you Chef AJ.
Hello.
Chef AJ, how are you doing?
Good. Hi, Dr. Montgomery. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone watching. It's funny that you mentioned about my book receiving glowing accolades, because you were one of the people that endorsed it, but you actually made the back cover. And of the 34 doctors that endorsed it, your endorsement made the back cover. So that means it was a really good one. So thank you.
Must have been extra glowing. Well, I really enjoyed the read. So
yeah, I think we met maybe about 10 years ago or so. You won an award from PCRM.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. So that was in 2010. Wow, what a memory.
So that's when I first met you, and I remember because I had a broken knee, and so it had to be 2010. Yep.
Wow, what a memory. Yeah, I mean, I remember that time, and I was meeting so many people, and so you kind of get the dates and times and people mixed up. That's fantastic. You're a great memory. So you have some wonderful treats for us today, and so give us a quick rundown on what you have prepared for us.
Sure. So I'm going to do one recipe from each of my book, and then a second one from one of the books. I haven't decided, but I'm going to do 5 recipes, and all my recipes are whole food, plant-based. Of course, they're vegan. I also just don't use processed ingredients. Well, there's one, maybe you could say the mustard is, without sugar, oil, and salt. And all of these are very well suited for the holidays. In fact, I'm probably going to make all of them for my Thanksgiving dinner. So I'd like to get started first with the soup, because that would be the longest recipe, but it won't take that long because I'm going to be using the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. I'm going to be using the 8-quart right here. I don't know if you could, very good. And if you don't already have an Instant Pot, I really recommend the 8-quart, because you can do small jobs in a big pressure cooker, but you can't do big jobs in a small one. And the pressure cooker sizes from Instant Pot are 3-quart, 6-quart, and 8-quart. With my name, AJ or Chef AJ, you get $20 off if you buy from the company website. But it's just one of those things that really just makes it easy to cook very healthy. So I have in the Instant Pot already 3 cups of water, and I'm going to add 2 pounds of butternut squash. Now, forgive me for using the pre-cut. I have a triple shoulder injury and I can't really cut with my hand right now. So for convenience, I am using the pre-cut organic butternut squash, but you certainly can use the squash that you buy, and you just want to get 2 pounds and you'd want to take the skin off it and also take the seeds out. And then again, for convenience, I'm using the bag of onions already pre-cut from Trader Joe's. But the truth is we are going to puree this recipe. So you literally could just put in an onion of your favorite choice, sweet, red, white, and you wouldn't even have to have it chopped up. Garlic is one of those things I don't even measure. I just use a lot of it, especially when you're not using salt. And one of the things I like to teach people is measure your spices in advance. So this says butternut. It's kind of wearing off. Whoa, you know, we don't normally eat 30 different breakfasts, 30 different lunches, and 30 different dinners. Most of us have our family favorites, whether they're healthy or not. And we repeat them quite often. Research says it's something like 5 or 6 recipes actually that families repeat. So I know that I'm going to make this at least a couple times a month. So I have what I call jar parties where I measure out all the spices for my favorite recipes, making sure that I label it, because one time I put cumin in oatmeal and I didn't mean to. And then I still smell it just to make sure. And this way I don't have to be measuring every time I make a recipe. Now, the original recipe, and this recipe is in my book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss. The original recipe called for pears. And sometimes pears are very hard. They're not very good. They're not in season. And so I often use the jarred pears in their own juice from Trader Joe's because I love the glass jars because I reuse them for my homemade salad dressings, and I often give those as gifts. But sometimes people say they can't find them in glass. You can also often find them in cans. But what you can do, and what I'm going to do tonight, if you have trouble finding pears or ripe pears, is you can simply substitute 2 apples. And the apple that I'm using is my favorite apple. It's called the Envy apple. And you don't have to cut it up, well, because the whole thing is going to be pureed, but you will want to take the core out. So I'm just going to use this nifty tool that gets the core out really easily. Look at that. I'm going to just put the whole thing in. I'm going to do this with the other apple. Any apple would work, but I would recommend more of a sweeter one than, say, a green apple. But if you can find the Envy apple, it's really good. I think it's called that because it's the envy of all apples. I do not have a lot of, I'm sorry. Charles, can you help me? What it is, I have a torn rotator cuff, impingement syndrome, and bicep tendonitis. And so this arm is not so great. It's not the tool, it's me. So thank you so much. So isn't this cool? You have like little goggles, little apple goggles. So now I'm going to just simply put the top of the pressure cooker on. All the ingredients are in there, except for the non-dairy milk, which we add afterwards. I'm going to press the button that says pressure cook, put the time on 6 minutes, and press the start button. And there you have it. Now, if you're not familiar with pressure cooking, it doesn't actually take 6 minutes from this point in time. That would be wonderful if it did. It will take 6 minutes from when it comes up to pressure. And what that means is when the contents of the pressure cooker reach 247 degrees Fahrenheit, which is higher than boiling, which is 212. So what pressure cooking is, it's cooking things in a very short amount of time at very high heat, whereas slow cooking cooks things for a very long amount of time at low heat. You could do this in a slow cooker, but it's going to take about 8 hours. So pressure cooking is great. And you probably could do it on the stove, but I don't like to babysit things because I'm busy and I'm doing a lot of things at once. So if you're somebody that's struggling to get healthy food on the table quickly, I think for you, a pressure cooker could be a game changer. And I prefer the electric ones because you can set it, forget it. You can take a bath, you can walk your dog. The stovetop ones you have to babysit. And by the way, I'm happy. I can't see the chat, but I'm happy to answer any questions throughout this presentation if you would just read them to me, Dr. Montgomery. Okay. Well, right, then I'll go on to the next recipe. So the next recipe is, okay.
Yeah, I'll read the questions as I see them.
Perfect. And so the next recipe is from the new book, Own Your Health, which just came out in October. Glenn Mercer wrote it. I wrote 81 new recipes, and this is called Cranberry Spritzer. And I have already in my blender, I'm using the Vitamix, a high-powered blender, but any blender would do. I have my unfiltered, unsweetened apple juice and lime juice combination. I'll move the blender over more so you can see it, except that Okay, hold on. There we go. All righty. And then I'm going to add my fresh cranberries. If you love cranberries, then buy as many as you can now and freeze them. I don't know why we only think to eat cranberries in the fall, but I think they're amazing. And something else goes in here. Nope, that's it. Oh, I know, the top of the blender.
Oh, Michelle Ashley says she has your new book and she loves it.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. If you're so inclined, put a nice review on Amazon. I hate to ask people to do that, but it does help. So we've got the ingredients in the blender, and again, just 3. And I'm just going to blend it. It's such a pretty color. And then get a festive glass, because after all, it is the holidays. Pour it in the glass.
Oh, wow.
And then what you want to add is just a little bit, maybe 4 ounces, not a lot. You don't want to dilute it, but you want to make it feel bubbly and special, of a sparkling water. And, you know, it's so funny because I don't drink alcohol. I don't recommend it. But this it just feels holiday. It feels special, you know?
Wow.
And it's very, very easy to make. So if you're making more than 1 serving, obviously you'll double, triple, quadruple the recipe. So it's just kind of a fun little recipe. And again, I really try to make all my recipes quick and easy because I know that most people don't have a lot of time to spend in the kitchen. And I'm not sure a recipe tastes that much better when what I'm trying to say is I don't think a recipe is necessarily better because you spent longer on it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So just excuse me 1 second while I rinse out the blender.
No problem. I just want to say while Chef AJ is rinsing out the blender, if anyone has any questions in the chat, please feel free to type them in and I will bring them up. Chef AJ, while you're doing that, I hope you can hear me. If you can.
I can hear you perfectly. My sink is right there, so you can.
Doing what you're doing. This is live and on the spot. So we're delivering a live show. So the question. So I'm going to make the recipes available to our group. If you wanted to multiply the recipes, it's just simply like if you want to make 10 times, instead you just multiply the ingredients 10 times. You don't have to do anything special, or how does that work?
Well, you know, I've heard it say, and it depends on the recipe. I don't think 10 times necessarily would fit in here because that would be 10 cups of apple juice, and this blender only has 8 cups. In general, I don't recommend doing a recipe more than a ×4. I think, especially with baking recipes, sometimes you lose the integrity. You can always double a recipe. You can always triple a recipe. So no problem. You can even cut a recipe in half.
Okay. See, I learned something today.
I don't know if that's a strict rule because, okay, so for the next recipe, I would say you could do this as many times as you want because it's very, very few ingredients. I'm going to make the lemon poppy seed dressing for the baby arugula salad. And I'm actually doubling it because I figure if I'm making it, I know I'm going to use this dressing almost every day. So I think quadrupling, doubling, tripling recipes is a great thing. Because if all you have is healthy food ready, you'll eat it. And I love teaching people to batch cook. And so definitely, if you like a recipe, make a lot because you'll eat some and you'll freeze some. Because this soup, for example, freezes beautifully. And when I'm showing you how to finish it, I'll show you that I actually have some of this soup in my freezer from the last time I made it. So
how
this is
poppy seed dressing. Does that freeze pretty well?
Salad dressing, I've actually never frozen, and I've never had a need to freeze salad dressing because I'm eating and encouraging people to eat large salads every day. I don't know, but you know what I could do is I could maybe take a couple of tablespoons, put it in a little Tupperware, freeze it, and I can get back to you on that. But I've honestly never frozen salad dressing.
Sure.
I've frozen things like beans, grains, rice, desserts. But I've never frozen salad dressing. You know, I'm thinking the Cranberry Spritzer could probably be frozen into little ice cube trays, and then the next time you make it, that you could make it more of a slushy. So that might be good. Is it good, Charles? Charles you can't hear him, but he's going like this. All right. So this is a really easy recipe, and this is also from the new book, Own Your Health. And there's I think 5 ingredients. I try to think about not to have more than 7 ingredients and as few ingredients as possible. You know, we were talking before the show how I'm taking stand-up comedy classes. I'm returning back to one of my loves of things I did in my 20s when I was doing stand-up comedy and I was on the Tonight Show and Letterman. And one of the things the teacher said is that when Jerry Seinfeld, who's, you know, obviously one of the best comics in the world, writes a joke, if the joke is 7 words, he tries to see, well, how can I make it 6 words? And when I write a recipe, I really, especially because I learned so much from my first book when I was using a few hard to find ingredients and making long recipes, that at least the people I know want it really easy. So I try to think, how can I use the fewest ingredients possible, but still get maximum flavor? So I don't really count water as an ingredient because I think people always have it. But basically, this is water, lemon juice, and I put the dates in to soak them in advance so they would get nice and soft, because I know not everybody has a high-powered blender, so you would want to soak the dates first. And then let me just grab my other ingredients, which are mustard, poppy seeds, and chia seeds. I love chia seeds because not only are they good in those omega-3 fatty acids, which we're always told are important, but they're a wonderful thickener, and they work really well for dressings, because I don't think anybody wants a watery salad dressing because then it sinks to the bottom of the bowl. But the chia seeds just help make it just thick enough that it sticks really well. So in addition to the dates, the water, and the lemon juice, I have my mustard. Now, I prefer not to eat salt for a variety of reasons. If you eat salt, you can use your favorite Dijon mustard or stone ground might be better. I'm using a brand that really is easy to find in many stores like Sprouts. You can get it online at Thrive Market or Vitacost. This is the kind of mustard they use at True North, and it's called Westray. But despite the fact that it's salt-free, it's just a very, very good tasting mustard. It's mild. I don't like too spicy of a Grey Poupon. It's a little bit too spicy for me. So This is nice and mild. And then I'm going to add.
I like the idea of the chia seeds because, you know, most salad dressings people have an oil. And so you use a seed, which is a whole food fat, which gives it that texture. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would much rather use whole food fats like nuts, seeds, and avocado than I don't use. I haven't. God, it's been over 10 years since 12 years since I ate oil, at least knowingly. So anything you can do with oil, I can do without oil.
We got a little freezer activity here. She's going to come back hopefully real soon. While Chef AJ, we got a little connection here. There you go. We just froze for a minute there. That's all.
Okay, sorry about that. The last thing I said is anything you can do with oil, I can do without oil. And I don't know if you saw, but I threw in my chia seeds and my poppy seeds. And then I'm just going to blend this. And again, soaking the dates in advance does help it go a little bit more quickly.
So I'm going to throw in a couple of questions. Somebody asked about the ingredients of a smoothie. Bad timing on that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got to defer to the blender. So they have a question on the ingredients of the Cranberry Spritzer.
Yeah, I think it's the spritzer they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make these ingredients just for everybody on the line. I'm going to make the recipes available. Email us at wellness@montgomeryheart.com. I'm going to make these recipes available. So for anybody that wants the recipes, just as FYI. Here's a comment from Louise Silver. I've gone wild making recipes from your new book. Really loving them all. What is your favorite book? What is your favorite one?
My favorite book or my favorite recipe in my book?
You know what? That's good. I guess give us one of each. Your favorite book and your favorite recipe.
Okay. All right. Gosh. Okay. So in unprocessed, my favorite recipe is the lasagna because I think it's the best lasagna I've ever tasted. I actually made this once in a dinner that Colin Campbell was the star of at USC, and it was for 200 doctors at the medical school there. And these were regular people, and all except for one person loved it. So I'm going to say Chef AJ's Disappearing Lasagna is the best and my favorite recipe in this book. Boy, and the secrets to ultimate weight loss. Oh gosh, okay, I'm going to say the cram muffins, the carrot cake muffins, because those are amazing to be able to make something that delicious without any dates even. So I'm going to go for cram muffins. In A Date with Dessert, which is just an ebook now, but we're working on the hardcover. Oh my God, you guys are killing me. It's a great question. God. Well, here's the thing. Probably the best recipe in here is the German chocolate cake, but I can't eat chocolate anymore. So for me, I'm going to say the cinnamon buns. And own your health. Oh gosh, maybe cauliflower bisque. So thank you for the great question. You really made me think on my feet. So one of the things I like to do is put the salad dressing in a pretty bottle, and I love a vinegar called California balsamic, and I use it all the time. And it's there's no sugar, oil, or salt, and it has flavors like 7-Herb Italian that can be your salad dressing. And whenever I finish a bottle, I wash it in the dishwasher so the label comes out, and then I keep the bottles, and it makes it really easy for me to. You can maybe tilt the computer a little bit.
What's the that's wonderful. What's the refrigerated shelf life on these recipes? I mean,
that's a great question. And I just want to let you guys know that even though it's a little bit watery now, it's going to thicken. Chia seeds don't thicken instantly, but this will thicken. So I've kept
it a day ahead then.
Yeah, I've had this dressing for as much as 2 weeks. I don't test shelf life because I actually eat the food that I make. So I would say a general rule of thumb is, remember that old saying by Benjamin Franklin, fish and visitors smell in 3 days? Well, I would say not for salad dressings, but for soup, you're going to get 3 days out of it. And maybe you can go as much as 4 or 5. But after that, I think it loses something. So what I always like to do is after I make the soup tonight, we'll eat what we're going to have for dinner, which I'm going to cook a big pot of rice with it. And then once it cools, I'm going to do 2 servings for me and my husband, and that's going to get frozen. I don't see why this wouldn't last a very long time in your refrigerator, but again, you're really putting me to the test. So what I need to do is take 2 tablespoons and freeze it, and 2 tablespoons, put it in another container and get back to you. Because, truthfully, that's how they test shelf lives in products. That's really how they do it. And so I'm going to show you how I plate the salad in a little bit, but I have the dressing here. And I just love these bottles because maybe not right now during the pandemic, but in general, I live in a retirement community. Everybody's really friendly. And I love to give this as gifts to the newcomers or just to my neighbors that are struggling with healthy eating. And people do appreciate these pretty healthy gifts.
Louise Silver wants to know, the recipe calls for dates. Can you substitute date syrup or date paste?
Yes and no. So I think that date paste is more like a date than date syrup. And what I mean by that is if you were to taste them all together, all date paste is dates plus a liquid like water or plant milk. And we're actually going to be using that in the pecan pie tonight. Date syrup is I don't want to say it's it is more processed. It's concentrated, it's heated and boiled, and it has a wonderful flavor, which is why you could use it instead of pancake syrup or maple syrup. But I think personally that it's a little bit too strong for this kind of recipe. If you were going to use date paste, see, this is the thing. I don't know how to convert date paste to dates, because when people do date paste, they might not be using my recipe, which is 8 ounces of dates to 8 ounces of water. So the water ratio, you would probably have to do it to taste, but I would say yes to the date paste and probably no to the date syrup, at least in this recipe. I think it would be too strong. I think it would overpower the other flavors.
Wow. I tell you what, the comments, I'm looking like a real big hero for having you, Chef AJ. So we're going to bring you back sometime.
Well, I get it. Should I tell them the surprise? Well, I don't know if people know. You're not only one of the most wonderful plant-based doctors, but I don't know if people know that you too are a chef.
Well, they don't, but I'm not like a real chef like you. I mean, I've got my certificate, and I took a weekend crash course, and I actually have a few recipes, and I'm going to be doing some things on your show at some point. I think we'll be sometime soon, so we'll have to share that with the audience. But I don't think I'll be as graceful as you are.
Well, that's okay, because this year, if any of you are familiar with my work, this is like my fun job, but my real job is I host summits through an educational company called Better Life Summits. And we did 2 weight loss summits and a GI summit that's coming up on the 14th of November. And for next year's GI Health Summit, we decided to ask the doctors to also do demos. Instead of just interviewing them, we thought it would, and so I've got Dr. Joel Furman doing a cooking demo, and a lot, so you're going to be in good company with the cooking demos.
Yeah, I'm going to have some help with my kitchen staff. Gina S wants to know, where do you get your inspiration for your new recipe? Old books, True North?
So Most of the time it comes from viewers of my show Weight Loss Wednesday, where they'll write me and say, hey, can you make this? Can you make this? And that's really what happens is I get an idea in my head because people want these recipes. Because I'll be honest, I've eaten healthy for so long now. I'm just happy eating very simply. I could eat the same. I could eat a salad, a chopped salad with cold leftover rice in it, with this lemon poppy seed dressing every single day, and I would be happy, or sweet potatoes and broccoli. So most of the inspiration comes from requests. And it's funny because the pecan pie that I'm making came from a request many years ago of a friend's husband that not only was vegan, but he very strict gluten-free, and they didn't want the sugar and the salt. And so really it's mostly requests.
Now here's Maureen. She met you through one of our conferences. You came here in Houston, and so she's followed your program, has lost 100 pounds, and has kept it off. So she's great and gives you all the tools.
Wow, 100 pounds is incredible. Yes. Congratulations. Because what we're learning a lot from doing these summits is that people actually can lose weight. The problem is the keeping it off. So the fact that you kept it off is amazing. And one of the speakers on the summit is somebody named James Hill, who founded something called the National Weight Control Registry, where they study people who have lost 30 pounds or more and have kept it off. So that might be something you want to look into now. So this pecan pie, it's rich, but it's rich from the whole food, from the nut. It's really amazing because it has only 2 ingredients. Oh, can you guys believe that the soup is already ready? You can.
Oh, wow.
So you can see right here when it says 000, what's going to happen is this is going to start counting up. And right now, this is now a crock pot. So it's just going to stay warm. We'll get to it when we get to it, which is what I love about the pressure cooker. But that was very fast. I mean, less than a half hour, soup is ready. So that's pretty cool. So the pecan pie is from my book, A Date with Dessert. And let's see if I can show you. This is what it looks like when it's done.
Oh, wow.
But you'll see it. And so again, only 2 ingredients, dates and pecans. And when you think of a real pecan pie, or this is a real pecan pie, but a traditional one, Caro corn syrup and flour and white sugar and it just, bleh. But this is actually made from food. I like to use a springform pan. This is a silicone one, but you could get a metal one. There's so many different shapes and sizes, because what's nice about it, Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's a silicone.
It's silicone or silicone. It's silicone, not silicone. But what's nice is the sides peel off, and it makes it very, very easy. And this has a glass bottom, but any pan would actually work. And you will need a food processor for this one, not a blender. And you want to make sure it's fitted what's called the S blade, they say, because it looks like the letter S. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make the crust. Actually, I lied. I'm going to make part of the filling. So I have my pecans already measured out here, and I'm going to put them in the food processor. One of the things you want to be mindful of is, unless you're actually making a pesto, you always want to make sure your food processor or your blender, if you're grinding nuts or seeds or grain for that matter, is dry. Because if it's not completely dry, I'm telling you, 1 drop of water could turn this recipe into what it's not. So I made sure that I didn't use my food processor today, so it would be nice and dry. And now I'm going to process the nuts on high. I'm not going to turn it into a nut butter. I'm going to turn it into more like a flour or breadcrumb consistency. You don't have to do it that long because we're going to process it again. So you can see it's kind of like breadcrumbs, It's I could go a little bit longer, and if I wasn't doing a live show, I might go a little bit longer. So but this is fine.
So Nicole wants to know what Dr. Goldhammer's favorite recipe is of yours.
Oh gosh, I will tell you that, and the reason I know that is because we would, at the holiday extravaganza that I would host for him, we would always do an Iron Chef competition with me against Chef Bravo. And we did it for many years. And almost every single year, he would win the savory round and I would win the dessert round because I was a pastry chef. And then I don't know how the heck this happened, but one year, Dr. McDougall came to watch it because he's a big celebrity in Santa Rosa where he used to live. And his wife, Mary, was a judge. So many people came, hundreds of people came. They had to move it outside. And for whatever reason, that year I won the savory with something that I actually call the McDougall Goldhammer cauliflower sweet potato risotto stack. And he won the sweet. But the one year, the secret ingredients that were given to me and Chef Bravo were mango, cashew, and oats. And I made a mango tart. And Dr. Goldhammer's favorite nut is cashew and his favorite fruit is mango. And Dr. Goldhammer's not a very demonstrative person, but when I saw his eyebrow go up, I knew I had it clinched. So I would say anything with mango and cashew. And so he did love that tart. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this aside for now, the crumbs of the pecan, and I'm going to make the crust. And again, what's interesting about this is the only ingredients are nuts and dates. It's how they're configured. So I'm going to make the crust by doing something very similar, taking a different set of pecans. And by the way, these are raw nuts. These are not roasted, and these are not salted, and certainly they don't have oil. And I'm going to process this into a flour-like consistency. Getting hot in here. And then I'm going to add my dates. And these are pitted dates. I mean, I hope they're pitted. I didn't check each one. I probably should, because I could damage my food processor in doing that. And you know what? I'm using the organic Deglet Noor, and I'm going to tell you why. Let me go grab them. You can get them at Costco at a really great price. I live in India, which is the date capital of the world. We have all kinds of dates. But I always rely on these because really they are very, very affordable. And even though the Medjool date and the Bari date, they're probably sweeter and better for certain recipes. What's nice about these is they're a little bit drier, and I think this is a date that is more accessible to people, and most people in big cities have Costco and can get these. And they're very tasty and they're very affordable. And if you've ever heard of not a candy bar, but a bar called the Lara Bar, this is basically the idea. And she made a fortune selling that to General Motors, General Foods. Basically, she took a nut or a seed with a dried fruit. So this is basically just making your own Lara Bar. So if it wasn't a pecan pie, we could literally use any nut or seed or any kind of dry fruit, and add kind of, we could add lemon zest or lime zest or orange zest, or people that eat chocolate cocoa powder. So this date nut thing, I mean, it is caloric. It's, it's not like eating kale, but if somebody's going to have a treat, I would much rather have them eat a treat of whole foods like nuts and dates than something with sugar, flour, and oil. So I'm going to process again. It might be a noisy.
Fascinating. So everybody, as you watch this presentation, notice Chef AJ uses whole foods, not processed. The nuts are raw, and that's really the key. And one thing we had over the years with coaching our patients in the boot camp, we would allow some nuts, but they would forget that the nuts have to be raw. We prefer to be organic. And so we had to pull the nuts off detox. And so you have to be very careful of the quality of ingredients. And notice Chef AJ is talking about the quality of ingredients and making sure there are no additives, preservatives, or the like, or no oil. So that's really important in terms of a whole food, plant-based diet, and especially if you want to maintain optimal health. So the preservatives can be problematic. Lloyd Tyler wants to know about gumbo. Do you have a gumbo recipe?
I don't, but I bet I know who does. And her name is Kathy Hester, and I'm almost positive she's a wonderful vegan chef. But again, if you remind me, I will look it up. I know there has to be one out there. So what you do is you process it until you can get it to form a ball very easily. And the ball has what's called, so this is a truffle right now. I mean, we could eat this. You put a little cinnamon in it. This would be delicious. But this is going to be my crust. And if I can break it easily in half and it still stays together, then I know it's done. And so now what I'm going to do is pour the crust ingredients in the pan. And using my hand, I'm going to press it down. And that's how you do it.
So Guy McGar asks, he says, you're a magical nutritionist chef, the best to help people stay healthy. But he wants to ask you about your Johnny Carson show guest days in Boynton.
Wait, is this guy the famous? If this is the guy that I know from LA, he is like a world famous Hollywood director, and I miss him so much since I left LA. and he sent me some information on a magic class that I'm going to be taking. I hope he's going to be in it too. But Johnny Carson was September 1st, 1987. You can find that on my YouTube page. That was one of the, okay, so there are 3 great moments in my life in order. Marrying Charles, that was the 3rd best. No, just kidding. Kidding. Oh, he didn't even hear me. Speaking at the McDougall Advanced Study Weekend and being on Johnny Carson. Those are my top 3 things. And because it was a dream since I was 7 years old. So
wow.
Did you have a specific question on it? Or so I've got my beautiful crust here. And by the way, this type of crust, we could just serve fresh fruit over this. This could be a delicious pie, just if company came, it could be very quick. We could slice up some berries and that's something you can do with it. But let me show you how to do the filling now. So now what we're going to do is put the nuts that I ground up already back. I mean, it's hard to believe that this is only 2 ingredients.
Now,
and
Denise doesn't have a food processor. She wants to know, can you do without it?
No, I'm sorry. Not really.
Sorry, Denise.
I'm so sorry, but you can get a really affordable one at Walmart. This is my Cuisinart, and I've been teaching cooking for 20 years, and I've had my Cuisinart break, and I've had no choice but to go to Walmart like at 11 o'clock at night for the next day's class. For $87 or less, you could get the Black & Decker. You can get the Oster. Just make sure you get one that's at least 14 cup. I would recommend, not the 8 or the 12. I really, because see, the blender, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to do this.
So now make the investment.
So I am going to, I made the date paste in advance just because, remember what I said at the beginning, you don't want to go from wet to dry. And so I made this in advance, and now I'm going to add the date paste to the food processor. And date paste is amazing, by the way. There's just nothing like it, And the reason this is a little bit thinner than it normally is because I just made it. The date paste does set up in the refrigerator.
Paste, right?
Yeah. So I have seen date paste commercially in a few stores. Usually they're ethnic markets, and they usually come from the Middle East. And what date paste is, when you buy it in the store, is they take dates and they put it through an extruder. Extruder, if you think about like how a shower head, how the water comes through the holes, or if you think of like where they grind like liver at the deli. So they take dates, they put it through an extruder, but that is too hard to process. And so I like to make my own date paste. My particular ratio is for every pound of dates, I do a cup of water. So it's more date than water, or it could be another liquid. It could be a non-dairy milk. It could be a juice, depending on what flavor profile I want the recipe in. But date paste, I can tell you, freezes beautifully for months and even lasts for a week in the fridge. So now I'm going to process this again. And I remember when you invited me and Chef Babette to Houston, I made this at your house for one of the. I made it at your house. Do you remember for one of the parties?
I do remember. Yeah. We had a good time.
Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on top of the crust. And this is perfect for the holiday. And it's so rich. What's nice about pecans is they have this richness and butteriness. I was once I think you were in Marshall. Were you in Marshall, Texas ever?
Yeah, I was in Marshall several times. I'm sure we crossed paths in Marshall also. Right,
because they have some kind of special pecan they had there that was like mind-blowing. I wanted to show you a little food processor trick. There's quite a bit of the product left on the blade. And so rather than take all the time to scrape it off, what you do is you put the top of the food processor back on, literally for one pulse, and then through the magic of centrifugal force, my blade is practically clean now. And a lot of people don't do that even when they make hummus. And look how much you waste, almost an entire piece, by not doing that. And
Rebecca wants to know, can you make a walnut pie instead of pecans? Make with walnuts. Have you done that?
I don't see why you couldn't. I think you could use any almonds. Almonds are a little tough. Almonds is a very, very hard nut. If you prefer walnut, yes, I don't see why you couldn't. Now, this is only $7 at Walmart, but sometimes these little tools make a difference if you could just angle this down. This is called an offset. Could you angle it down just a little bit? Could you angle it down a little bit? He can't hear me. He's using headphones. So yes, of course, a regular spatula will work, right? But really, to get a nice smooth top, I really like using something called an offset spatula because it's beveled and it just makes it easier to get a nice smooth top.
Yeah, I remember looking for an offset spatula for you when you came.
Yeah, it does. It just makes it, I mean, you could always make do with a knife, but it's just, I like having the tools. Okay, so see, very quick. Now, what we want to do is decorate the top with pecans. And so these are whole pecans, and this is where you can get the kids involved, and you just basically press them in all the way around. Now, this is going to be a little time consuming, so if you have questions, this will be a great time to ask. But let's say you were in a hurry. All you'd have to do is chop a bunch of pecans and you could sprinkle it on top. But
Wow.
this is what makes it look like a traditional pecan pie by doing it old school this way. Now you're going to have to.
Do you eat the pecan pie? Because it says in your program you don't eat nuts.
Okay, so I personally have not had nuts since 2011. But again, if you read my book and understand that even though I'm slender now, I'm a food addict in recovery, and nuts are what are called a trigger food for me. So in other words, like they say in AA, one drink, one nut. If I eat one nut, even my least favorite nut, a Brazil nut, next thing you know, I'm going to be eating a pound of pistachios. So I just can't seem to moderate my use of nuts or even seeds, with the exception of flax and chia seeds. So my philosophy is, when in doubt, leave it out. And for people that are worried about my health, I can assure you I have one of the best lifestyle medicine doctors in the country, and he checks my omega-3 fatty acid levels every year. They're strong, they're high, but that is because I eat so many grains, and because I don't consume oil, I don't get any omega-6, or not, I don't get too much omega-6, which is why my ratio is very, very favorable. But
and
I
you
can
do fine with seeds. Seeds give you enough healthy fats. You don't have to eat nuts. So
right. See, and yes, seeds don't seem to have that that same effect on me. You know, I mean, who's going to binge on chia seeds? Come on, you know, not that interesting. But yeah. Anyway, but that's okay, because this is going to go to somebody else's house, and it's not going to be in mine, so it's not going to tempt me. But I don't have a problem. First of all, I can't eat it right now anyway, because see, this has to be frozen. What's also nice about this is it's a raw dessert. And I live in the desert where it can be 120 degrees, and I don't want to turn my oven on, but I can make this all year round for a friend's birthday or something. And it's really not that hard to make. Now, once I get the nuts on the top, it's basically done. I just have to freeze it until hard. And it won't get so hard in the freezer that you won't be able to cut it. You will. But you want to serve it either completely frozen or slightly frozen, because then it kind of almost tastes like a caramely pecan ice cream cake. Now, this is how we make it at True North, and Dr. Goldhammer does allow me to make these on New Year's Eve. However, if you really want to fool people and have them think it's a pecan pie, this is where the date syrup, Louise, will come in. So this is a brand I love called I Love Date Lady. You can get a 15% discount with code Chef AJ. And as a matter of fact, if you're watching this now, we have a contest on our website, Chef AJ website, where you can win a year's supply for free. So go to Chef AJ website. If you enter by Wednesday, November 11th at midnight, you can win a year's supply of date syrup for free. And so what I like to do is, you can angle it down.
A year's supply of kale.
I wish. So I try to take as little as possible. I mean, if I were to measure this, my guess is it's no more than a couple of tablespoons. And my hand is clean, so I'm going to use my finger. And then this gives it that glazed look that you would get with the Caro corn syrup. So just enough to make it shiny and not too much. But this is just a way to let people think it's, they're eating real pecan pie. So
a couple of comments on the gumbo. Nicole wants to remind you that Josh Lahani's mom has a vegan gumbo.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she has a book called Pure Ambrosia. So yes, that's a great suggestion.
And then also, Kathy Hester has a whole food plant-based gumbo recipe on her plant-based Instapot website.
Yeah, I knew that I saw it somewhere. So it's time for more date syrup. Just anyway, luckily, there we go.
There's your own contest, so you can get a year's supply.
No, that would be that wouldn't be what's that? The FAA who monitors these contests? Like remember that quiz show movie where they cheated on the game show? No, I don't. I won't even let my friends really enter because I would be accused of nepotism. Let me just rinse my finger real quickly. And so this is it. And so what we have to do is we just have to stick this in the freezer overnight, and you are going to have the most amazing pie ever. I promise. Okay, so now let's show you what we do with the soup. Okay, so here we're going to release what's called release the pressure. So it's been 18 minutes since it came up to pressure, but what I have to do is push this little button. But I like to use this little diverter so that it doesn't get on my ceiling. There's not going to be a lot of pressure to release right now because of the fact that it almost came down to pressure naturally. And if there's time, I am going to do a cranberry relish, but I want to make sure that I finish the soup because that's the most important.
Yeah, plenty of time. So Guy wants to know about the orange bowl. Is that the doggy bowl? You're being resourceful?
My orange bowl. Where? Tell me where.
I think the one you put the pie in, the orange silicone.
Oh no, that's Bailey's dish. No, okay, yeah, he's a character. This is the silicone one. So what we're going to do is you don't want to cook with non-dairy milk. You want to add it at the end. The pressure cooker will not open until the pressure is released. So it's very safe that way.
Wow.
And so I generally make my own milk out of oats or cashews, but I'm out. I was actually going to show you how to do it, but in the interest of time, I don't mind using a very clean product. This literally has only 2 ingredients: cashews and water. That's it. No emulsifiers, no stabilizers. Wow. And so if I'm going to get a milk, it's going to have water plus whatever it is. So I'm going to add my 1 cup of non-dairy milk. And then I'm going to use another tool called an immersion blender or a stick blender that you can get pretty cheaply at both Costco and Bed Bath & Beyond. And what's nice about this is I don't have to transfer hot contents into a blender, which could be, kind of difficult because heat expands and you got to be careful. So with the stick blender, you want to make sure that you put it all the way to the bottom. You don't want to lift it up while you're blending. You could burn yourself. And those big apples, I wish you could smell this because this smells like fall.
It tastes very good.
And it's so creamy. Wow. OMG. Butternut squash is actually one of the squashes that I see available all year round in places like Costco and in the freezer. So I don't think of this just as a fall soup. Although this was created for a Thanksgiving class that I did a few years ago when I was actually in Dallas. And I served this to both Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer, and they're not foodies, but they really, really liked it. So there we have it, a nice, creamy, but thick soup. I also have a kabocha squash soup in my book that's also excellent, but this one's just a little bit easier. There we go. So now that's done.
How much does that immersion blender cost?
I've seen them as low as $30, so it just depends what brand you buy. All right. And so what I would do is the way that I garnish my soup is I usually like to put greens in it, fresh greens. I don't cook the greens because then they wilt. But right before serving, we throw handfuls of like arugula on it.
Oh,
and
yeah. I love that.
You could do is you could also just garnish it with a few pomegranate seeds. Why is it making so much noise? It's not letting me close it. Hold on.
Please tell us that she loves the immersion blender.
There we go. All right, there is time to make a cranberry relish. So luckily I completed all the ingredients.
And just to let everybody know, these recipes, to get these recipes, you can go email us at wellness@montgomeryheart.com. We'll make them available. We'll also have links to give you links to all of Dr. AJ's books, and you'll have all of that information. So,
okay, so we're going to make some cranberry relish, and in my book on process, which remember was written 10 years ago, where is I'm missing? Do you see my chia seeds? Huh.
Luis Silver wants to know how you keep your Instapot rims so clean.
I buy new ones every now and then.
A little frozen action there. She'll be back with us real soon. And as we go through this, I hope you guys get a lot of information from here. This actually is a good set of recipes for your holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm going to make all of these for Thanksgiving. I'm not kidding. And so I'm going to show you a cranberry relish. And again, this is raw. What I like about raw things is that you don't have to cook them. So you make them in half the time. And, when you think about traditional cranberry relish or the canned stuff, cup of sugar, you don't need any sugar. The fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit. And what I love about dates is you can control the sweetness with a few or with many, depending on your sweet tooth. And so when I wrote the book on process 10 years ago, chia seeds had not yet really come into the public the way it is now. So it called for psyllium husk, which is a thickener. Metamucil is psyllium husk. So now instead I use chia seeds, and the chia seeds really are optional, but I like them because I don't like a runny relish. I kind of like it, more firm. So I've got my cranberries, and I'm going to put them in the food processor fitted with the S blade, and I'm just going to pulse them. What? What'd you say?
Are those frozen or from the bag?
Oh, no, these are fresh. These are fresh. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to pulse them a little bit more. Right? And then what I'm going to do, let me see if I can find another spatula. It doesn't have pecan pie on it. Yep. All right. Although that would be good. And by the way, you know what really is a great use for cranberry relish is to put it on your morning oatmeal. That's amazing. So then I'm going to add my orange. And this is a nice tool called a zester. If you're a man, you can pretend like you're shaving and you just go all the way around the orange. Make sure that when you're doing zesting, I'm a fan of all organic if you can, but for something like this, you definitely want to make sure it's organic if you're using the skin. You don't want to press too hard or go over an area you went over, because then you'll get the white part, which is called the pith, and that could be very bitter. But this adds really a nice flavor when you use the zest. And
I can use my orange tree in my backyard.
Oh, lucky. Okay. So get as much zest as you can.
Oh, wow.
And then I have this tool. This tool was literally 99 cents at a Tupperware party, because you just kind of go like this. It's just one of the easiest ways to peel an orange. You just kind of make this. This is crazy that this was 99 cents. And I wish I had gotten like a million of them and given them as gifts, but it's so cool. And then it just there you go. You see? It just makes it a lot easier to peel when you do that. So there we go. I could have done this in advance, but then what would you have to watch, right?
No, this is perfect. No, really, I mean, seeing exactly how you do it makes the whole program.
And it's not that hard. And just, I like to have all my ingredients out, even if they're not measured. There's a thing called mise en place. It's French for everything in its place. At least have everything you need out as much as possible. Maybe not if it's, kept in the fridge. So there we have our orange. And if you've ever had a cara orange or blood orange, those are great. And so now I'm going to put the orange in the food processor.
You don't worry about removing the seeds; they just get crumbled up.
I don't think this one has seeds. And I believe this is a navel orange, and I don't see any seeds in it. But if it did, I would definitely remove it. Now I'm going to process again.
So the sweetener in the cranberry relish is the actual orange, which is again a whole fruit.
But I am going to add some dates, and I'm just going to go. I'm just doing that. I don't know if that's right. I'll taste it and let you know, or I'll have my husband taste it. But I'm going to the dates really are to taste. I will get a little tasting spoon and let you know. Okay. Here. I don't like things very sweet. For me, it's good, but a little more for the masses, right? A little more. Okay. So for me, it's perfect. When it's perfect for me, the masses, because but for me,
some people like the zesty bite from the cranberries, though.
Yeah, but I just know for regular people. So
regular people.
My husband still does the sugar.
For the audience, regular people, that's politically correct statement of saying meat eaters and sad diet eaters.
Right. Well, but my husband eats really well. It's just that he does still eat a little bit of sugar in his diet, so his palate isn't quite as pure as mine. But the thing is, he's the one that's going to eat this in his oatmeal. So I want it to be, nice for him. And honestly, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. But I love a little thickener, so I'm going to put in some chia seeds, a tablespoon, and or two. And that's it. I mean, you could spend hours cooking relish on the stove, or you could just make this beautiful relish. Let me get a dish for it. Where was the one that the nuts were in? Here we go. But this is so easy to make. I mean, it doesn't require any cooking.
No.
So the only thing I have left to show you is the plating of the salad, which I'm going to do. And this is honestly better than any relish I've had. And you can play around with the flavors. I've put a little bit of fresh ginger in this at times, a little bit of fresh mint.
Yeah.
Yeah, fresh mint. I've put cherries in. I mean, you can make my recipes your own. But there is nothing.
When I was growing up in the holidays, we used to get that cranberry sauce that you get in the cans. Oh, that looks beautiful.
This is so good. Yeah. So actually, I know that you love raw food, which is why I actually 3 of the recipes tonight were raw, meaning not cooked. Actually, all of them were, now that I think of it, except for the soup. So, because I know that that's one of your interests. So let me show you how I'm going to serve the salad. And for people that don't like greens, not everybody is used to eating kale, and it can be bitter for people, especially the dark green kale. But if you get baby kale or baby arugula, it's much milder, and so people will often enjoy that. So let me get a little bowl.
Plus, we have our patients like dandelion greens and watercress, so that takes it off the end on bitter. So by the time they get to the kale and spinach, it's much milder.
That's great. So what I'm doing is I'm getting some organic arugula, and this actually isn't baby arugula, but we don't mind the bitterness. We actually like it. But for those for whom arugula is too bitter, look for baby arugula. They have it at Sprouts. They have it at Whole Foods. So I'm just going to put it in my bowl here, and then I'm going to add my dressing. I tend to add less dressing than a lot of people. I don't know. My mom always taught me you can always add, but you can't take away. Because my feeling is people can also add dressing at the table. They don't have to have it drenched in dressing. And so just going to mix it up.
Oh, that looks delicious.
It's so good. I mean, this is like a serving for me. I don't want to share this, but if somebody else wants it, I will. So again, I dressed it very light. I didn't put a lot of dressing in it. And I think that's how it should be. But again, people have the option to add their own. And then I'm just going to put it on a pretty plate. And then I'm going to, because it's a holiday, that's how we're going to make it festive. Put a few of the palm seeds on it.
Wow.
And you don't, if people that eat nuts, a couple of walnuts maybe, but you don't need to be fancy to make a delicious holiday dish. For Christmas, what I do is I put yellow, red, and orange bell peppers chopped extremely small, and it looks like Christmas lights. But for Thanksgiving, this is how I do it. And we could do the same thing with the soup. We could garnish the soup with this. But look at that. I mean, under an hour, I did 5 recipes. Wow. You don't have to spend all day in the kitchen. And basically, I am cooking rice because I like to have grain with my soup to make it heartier and full meal. But in under an hour, I did 5 recipes. And this could be the basis, or at least a lot of your Thanksgiving dinner.
That's amazing. Let's give Chef AJ a digital round of applause, everybody. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I mean, And just watching you is, I mean, it's like effortless. You know, you're just sort of throwing everything together, and it's almost like a magic show in a sense. But I love the way you sort of break it down for us. And, you know, again, you prepared a holiday meal in a very short order. And the simplicity of it also makes it easier, but also makes it healthier. And so I'm hoping our audience will get a lot out of this. We're going to really share this video with the audience because the holidays, you know, as a cardiologist, you know, we see the worst illnesses around the holidays. Not only do you see more flu and all of that, but Christmas Day is the #1 day for people dying from heart attacks. Yeah. It's from the food. And so this is a very life-saving, I think, a very life-saving demonstration.
You know, Dr. Montgomery, I don't know if you know this, but 30 years ago, I was a respiratory therapist. And that's when I was in my 20s. And because I wasn't married at the time, I always volunteered to work the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, because that way the people with families would have it off, but also they paid time and a half. And I got to tell you that is like, I'm not a doctor, but I can't tell you how much, I mean, the emergency rooms were just hopping on both those days with people coming in, like you say, with heart attacks after a meal. I mean, for real.
That's right. And you build up. I mean, you come up with the candy from Halloween, and then you got the Thanksgiving and the Christmas, and of course you got all the parties and office meetings and things. So it's really a build up to that. So these recipes are going to be very valuable to our group, and I really appreciate everything you've done. I look forward to, I guess I'll be on the other side of the counter the next time we meet.
That'll be great. I can't wait to see I can't wait to see for you to do recipes for ultimate weight loss for our summit audience. It'll be wonderful.
Any parting words for our audience as we get ready to sign off?
Well, you know, I think the holidays are going to be different this year. So just accept that it's going to be different, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a lot to celebrate or be grateful for, because the fact that you're here and you're breathing, that is enough to be grateful for. Even if you can't see your loved ones, you know, thank God we have these kind of things. We have Zoom, we have Skype, we have FaceTime. And don't let the holidays derail you. A lot of people, that they feel like if they have one bite off plan, that they've blown it. And then the next thing you know, it's January 2nd and they've gained 15 pounds. You're probably going to go off plan. But I always tell people, if you are going to go off plan, just make a promise to yourself and me that you're going to eat something healthy first. Because when you have enough healthy food in your stomach, like starch and just good fruits and vegetables, some of that food isn't as tempting. And realize you want to love food that loves you back. And this food will love you back. And just, you know, do your best, bless the rest. But realize that the holidays aren't about food. They're about gratitude, being grateful, spending time with loved ones, even if you're physically not with them. And I'll tell you, when you wake up January 2nd and you're the same size or maybe even smaller, you're going to be a lot happier.
I mean, it can't be said any better. Thank you again, Chef AJ. And I really appreciate this. As always, a pleasure. And I learned a lot. And I'm going to use these recipes. And my chefs actually made this. And so I've tasted some of this. So this is actually delicious. So thanks for sending those recipes. And we'll make them available to our audience. Have a great day. And I really appreciate this. And I look forward to seeing you on, I think, the 21st.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so as we wrap up another show, I thank you guys for joining in and checking on the recipes. And for those of you who did not see the banners, for any questions about the recipes, you can get our recipes from wellness@montgomeryheart.com. We also have online programs, an online boot camp class where we teach you how to prepare recipes very much like this. We've stolen some of Chef AJ's recipes. And also teach you how to detox and how to do a nutritional cleanse from a health and nutrition standpoint. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this and we enjoyed you joining us tonight. So until next time, we want you to keep it fresh, natural, and live.